In the previous lesson of this course, we saw how we can work with retouching or touch up or photo retouch using different tools that we have in Photoshop, and also some of the filters that we already saw before, but applied in improving or like altering or do some hiding or enhancing of some parts of the face or the body. So working mainly with photography and raster graphics. In this lesson instead, we're going to talk about vector graphics, which is a different types of graphic creation and graphic design. And it's based on vertices and vertex essentially. And you will see here by just looking into Google that vector graphics are more defined, but also like more stylized, and they're used for logos and infographics. So usually raster is more realistic, while vector is more like cartoonish and stylized, but they're used for different purposes. Now, there are some other software that probably are better to work with vector graphics, like Adobe Illustrator from Adobe, and then you have like an open source alternative which is called Inkscape, and then you have like if you want to work with vector graphics in terms of interior design, architecture, engineering, you probably want to use something more technical like AutoCAD. And also here we have the open source alternative, which is LibreCAD, and you will find this also again in the channel. Now, also text are a type of vector graphics that you can use in Photoshop and in other software. So we're gonna see how we can work with fonts and also how we can download and install other fonts. So this is a website here where you can get fonts, but you can just search for in Google. You can search for like free fonts. Now the fonts will be installed in your system, so um, doesn't matter what software you use. If it uses fonts, it's gonna get it from the system. So in my case, Windows. So there is a folder in Windows where you can store the fonts, so where you can download fonts, and you can search for any type of font to use, and you can use it also in Photoshop. And also in Photoshop, you can have shapes. So shapes are essentially ready-made um, figures and primitives like square, rectangle, or circle. But they can also be really complex. So you can find like anything in form of an icon or a shape. So they're usually really stylized again. They're really simple, and you find anything like also simulating brushes or like tattoos or infographics, icons, decoration, whatever. You have like a world of shapes out there, and you can also create your own customized shape in Photoshop. And in this case, the file format is CSH if you want to be more specific when you're searching for this. So let's get in Photoshop and let's start with vector graphics. Again, we already talked about these earlier in the course, but essentially vector graphics are better if you want to like scale a graphic. You want to upscale or downscale, upsize, downsize many times. You don't want to ever lose quality. That's how the vector graphic works. It never lose quality. So this is why it's used for logos or like applied graphics, because you can scale it many ways. So in this case, we're not gonna bring an image in, we're not gonna use a picture, a photo, but we're gonna go directly down here. So we explore all these different tools, and now we are arrived right here these are the vector graphics tools. Now in this case, I am in the workspace essential. So make sure you are on this if you want to work with vector graphics. And you'll find here the main tools, which are the pen, the freeform, the curvature, the add, delete, and convert. And then also you have the text, which again, this is kind of a different type of vector graphic. You can turn it into a shape, or you can turn it into something else like raster graphics. You can turn it into you have the possibility to switch from raster to vector anytime. So let's start and see what it's about. So if I use the pen tool, well, it's gonna work like this. If I click once, it's gonna create a point. The second click is gonna create a line. So I have the first two vertices here, and inside I have the first vector. Now, if I continue to click with the left mouse more, it's gonna create more vectors and more lines, which you can see are all like perfectly cornered. So this is a perfect corner. If you don't want a straight line, but if you want a curve, you need to click and hold the left mouse key, and then you can just move around and it's gonna create a curve. So again, if the next one is gonna be a curve, I will just click and drag and it's gonna create another curve. And then you can just click to the beginning if you wanna have a closed shape. So you can decide if you want a closed shape or if you want to open path like this. It depends on what you need to do with that. We're going to see some more example later. So I want to click here and this is going to close the shape perfectly. Now, if you see up here, we can have a shape, we can have a path, we can have a rasterized shape with pixels. So in this case, we just created a path. And again, I can close this. And also I can use this to make a selection. So I can turn a path into a selection, or I can use this for a mask. I can turn this into a mask. And let me just open here the layer panel so we can see. So this is now a mask and this is the path. So this is where you can create paths. And then we have channels for the colors, but we need that. Or if you want, let me just go back. I can create a shape. Now, usually a vector shape has a surrounding line, which is the path essentially, but it can also be considered as a stroke. You have a stroke and you have an internal fill. This is how generally shapes are made, but you can also like change them a little bit. So this is kind of a customized shape right here. If I go back, so I'm just gonna go back and toggle I state. So this is gonna be a shape. Now to select the shape and also the path, because the shape is defined by a path made of vectors, I can click on this black arrow. This is the path selection tool. So if I click here, I can select this path if I click on top of that. Once it's selected, once I have selected, I can click and like move it around. And let's say that I want to work with that particular point, with that particular vertex. Well, in that case, I go back here and I change from the black arrow to the white arrow, and that's gonna be the direct selection. So if I click directly on a point, I'm able to change it and to fix it, and again, create my customized shape. So, it could be anything. You can also use an image behind if you want to like trace that image or kind of, use it as a reference. Otherwise, you just go like this and just create. Now, this is just an example, of course, this is nothing, but you can do something more, near to an animal or a letter or a logo or whatever you have in mind. So let's say that this is going to be kind of a logo. Let's make it like a little bit different. There you go. So I can always adjust it. And if I want to turn a corner here into a curve, what I can do is use another tool that it's usually right here under the pen, which is the convert point. So if I click on the convert point, I can click and convert it from a something, really straight into a curve. So let's make everything like a curve. So I can turn anytime anything into a curve or go the other way and make everything, if I click just once, it's gonna make it a corner. So you can always change that, you can always change your mind. And also you can go here and add an arrow point anywhere, or you can delete with the minus like that. And also if you use the standard pen tool, if you click on a point, it's gonna delete it. If you hold Alt, it's gonna turn it into something else. If you click on an empty point, it's gonna create a point. And you also have handles. You can also work with handles. So this is like the basics of creating vector graphics. And once you're ready with your vector graphics, you can also again select here, sorry, the with the white arrow, the path, and then you can go up here and you can change the fill, which is the part inside the shape, and you can also change the stroke, which is the part like surrounding the shape. Now everything is dependent on the path. So if I change again the path with the direct selection, say change this path, it's gonna affect the rest of the graphic, like the stroke and the fill. And also you have different types. You have dashed, you have the dots. You can change the alignment here. You can change the final caps to make it more rounded. You can change the corners to be rounded and so on. So you have like these other options. You can also have more options right here. And you can also use combine shapes, subtract, intersect, just as we did with the selection. Now with the path selected, if I go down here, I can select a shape. I can use a ready-made or preset shapes like rectangle, ellipse, triangle, polygon. So let's use like the standard rectangle. And here I've selected subtract from shape. So if I create a rectangle here, it's going to subtract it from the original shape like that. So it's another way you can use shapes. And you can also, of course, do the other like it again we did with the selection. So once your shape is ready, let me show you here. And also, if you want to create like rectangle or ellipse, you can also click once. You can define here the width and the height for the ellipse, or let's say the triangle, you can click here and choose this other option, or you have like the polygon where you can have like more sides. But and if you go down here, you also have custom shape. Now in custom shapes, you have like flowers, sheeps, trees, animals. Now these are the defaults, but you can also create your own. So let me just create a gorilla here like that, just to show you another vector graphic. Okay, so you see also how they're gonna appear here in the layers. They appear like with this little icon which represent the shape. So I have custom shapes, and as I told you at the beginning of the video, you can also add more shapes going here, and you can append the default shapes, which are these, or you can import shapes. Now I already created one, so I can import it in the file, which again is the CSH format, which you can get it also from the web. So if I load this, well, that's gonna be the one that I just loaded right here. There you go. So I can click and drag, and this is my customized shape. How can I make customized shape? Well, essentially, you turn everything off except the vector graphics you want to use as a shape, so you can see clearly what you are creating. And then you right click, and sorry, you need to do this not with the move tool, but with arrow tool here, path selection, or some of these. And you right click, and also here you can add icon point. You can define a custom shape. This is what you can do. And there you go. Let's call this custom shape. I'm just gonna save it. Once you save it, I can go back to the custom shape tool, and I will find it right here. And if I want to save it, if I want to export it, I can click here and I can export the selected shape. And again, this is going to be in the CSH format. And then you can bring it anywhere you want, or you can also share it on the web, or you can sell it on the web. Now let's see something else we can do here. If I right click, sorry, again with this right click, I can make a selection out of this. So I can use a path or a shape to create a selection. I can fill it again. I can stroke. I can transform it, free transform like an image. I can scale it, rotate it, flip it, and whatever. So all the transform tools that we already saw. Done. Let's do done. Now we can also use selection to create vector graphics. So if I use the elliptical, for example, selection, or whatever selection you're doing. So if you create first a selection, And again, you can add like this and work with the subtract, add, whatever. I'm gonna move these. Oh, sorry. Just want to move the selection. So just click here and right click and do the transform selection. So I can move it around. Now I can create a path. Let me go in the paths panel, and we gonna go here, and we can go and make a work path from selection like this. So you can see this has turned a selection into a work path, and you can go the other way. So you can turn the path into a selection. So by clicking here, this little button, or you can also right click and do make selection. And you can choose also the feather and other options. And you can also fill again the path. You can stroke again the path. You can make a symmetry. You also have here, this is the fill, and this is a stroke. And you can also make a mask out of that path. And also you can create here a new one directly in this other path layer. So if you go see now, you can see the mask created using that command. So if I go back to path and I say right click and fill path, you can fill it again with the foreground color, background color, pattern, black, whatever. So let's go for black, blending mode, and all the other things we already saw. So if I fill this, well, you can see that I'm filling the shape right here. So this is to show you that everything is like related somehow. So you can use a selection to create a path, or you can create a path and then turn it into a selection. This is kind of a way you can save selections, and then you can turn the selection into a mask, or uh, go the other way. And you can see here you also have like alpha channels that will be saved in here if you create a mask. And well, so this is mostly how you can work with vector graphics in Photoshop. You also have like the freeform pen tool, which is gonna create a path like in a really easy way like this, free, and it's gonna like change it a little bit. It's gonna smooth it a little bit. So, and then you have the curvature pen, which is, you can continue. You see here the same path, and it's pretty similar to the other one, but it's not gonna have handles. It's gonna be like a smoothed path. So I'm just gonna go back, Control Z if you want to go back, and that's it. So these are the various vector graphics tools that you have in Photoshop. And then you have the text. Now you can consider the text to be somehow another type of vector graphics. And you see that this is gonna be really familiar. So you just click and drag and define a box. And inside the box, you will have the text. So if I press the backspace, I'm just gonna delete everything. And let's just like type vector. There we go. So if I underline this or only part of this, well, let's type like, I'm gonna press enter, go down and type graphics. So we have two different lines of text. So here you have the font, and again, anything that it's installed in your computer can be used, you see here, to change the font. You can do it with the quick bar, or you can do it up here. So you see these are all the fonts that I have available in my system, in my Windows, and I can use all of them. So I can quickly see what's gonna happen if I change and the various fonts. So when I click, it's gonna be applied, and then I can change the size. So pretty simple for anyone who uses like word processors or things like that. Now, if I want, I can change the color. So if I select this, click here, you see I am back in the color selector, and I can assign another color only on that part of the text, or I can make this like bigger than the other. So you can change these independently, or each single letter can be changed, each single character. And other things you can do are up here, so you can make it aligned, right, left, middle, and we're going to see more like 3D and other stuff. I'm just going to go with the basic things. And here on the right side, you have the character window and the paragraph window. you can also access them from here. So character is about the character you're using, so the font. Now you can also increase the size. You can also just scale and change the size vertically, horizontally. You can change the spacing between the spacing between characters, the spacing between different lines. So if you select both here, you want to increase the spacing between the two lines, and then you can force also other effects that perhaps you don't have. So if you go here and perhaps you let's see, you only have regular, you can force the italic, you can force the bold, you can force all these other settings like all capitals or small caps, superscript, subscript, underline, strike through, whatever. So you have a lot of options, but they're really familiar, so not gonna go through all of that. Also here in paragraphs, we have alignment, justification, and then we have the indent. So you can click indent, so move the text more on the right or more on the left. And so everything that, again, you usually find in a word processor, so nothing too different. Now, other things you can do with text in Photoshop are, for example, turn a text into something else. So if I say okay and I apply this, so I select this and I'm gonna go well, not with the move tool. Now when you right click with the move tool, it's gonna show you the various things you can select that are overlapping, like the graphics and then the graphics behind, so the shape. So it's kind of a way to select other things that are overlapping. But if I go again to the text tool and I right click, you can edit the text from here. You can check the spelling, you find replace text. You can rasterize. Now, if you rasterize, you cannot use as a vector graphics anymore. You cannot edit the text directly, but you can use it, like for example the smudge tool, to modify it, or you can use, let me see here, something simple, yeah, with the smudge tool, or you can use the razor, for example. And if I find a nice eraser here, let's see, in wet media like this, you can make it like, grunge, wherever. So you can apply other effects that you wouldn't do or you couldn't do without rasterizing. Now, if I go back, um, I want to show you here that you can still edit. So if you click on the T tool, so the text tool, you can go back and edit as many times as you want until you rasterize it. When you rasterize it, you cannot change it anymore. And then if you right click, you also have a create work path or create shape. So if I create a shape, now if I go back to the direct selection tool, I can edit this vector. So I can make my own text using these vector graphics like this. So it becomes a path. It becomes something that I can edit. You can decide also if you wanna, with this, define another custom shape, or you can make a selection out of this. So this could become a selection. You can see it's the only part that I have selected. So if I wanna use the whole select, I'm gonna go to pack selection, select everything, right click, and then make selection with everything. Now you can also use these with the layer style. So if I double click, also here you have the possibility to do color overlay, gradient overlay, or you can do, let me just color overlay using this. So I want to make the same color, make sure it's on normal, and then you can stroke also with this, and let's stroke like outside. Click, take the color you want, change the size. So all of this stuff can be really, easily changed also using the styles. And then you have like shadows, you have many other things you can apply to any layer, including the vector graphics. So everything that we saw so far applies also here. I want to go for an image that I want to bring in. This is from Pexels. And again, you can use images as, you know, and work by tracing on top of them, or you can use them in combination with some of the combination with the text. So if I go here, now you can also make vertical text instead of horizontal. And if you want, you can also make it like directly like a mask or a selection. So if I do vertical type mask tool, it's gonna basically create a text and it's gonna automatically convert it, you can see, into a mask or basically into a selection. So if let's type just V here, but I want to make a big V, really big V, like this, maybe more, something really big. If it doesn't fit, I need to increase the size of the box. There you go. So I have a really big V here, where perhaps it's too big. Let's make it like a little bit smaller. So that's the V right there. If I say okay, you can see it's already a selection. So I can use this perhaps to have only part of the image visible. So if I right click and rasterize the layer here, and if it's not a smart object, I can just invert the selection and then delete. You can see I can use the image there as a background or as a fill for my text. So again, with text, we can do really a lot of things here. And just a few more things I want to show you with the vector graphics. And then we can say it's good. Now, also there are some adjustment layers that can turn something which is going to be resemble a vector graphic. Like you can use like posterize, or you can use the threshold, and then you can, if you want to create a quick vector graphic, you can just use the quick selection. And when you select an area, if you just turn the selection into a path, well, once you have a path, you basically have a let me just create a new one. You have basically a layer. So if I take this, for example, which is not really precise, but right click and make a path. So I'm gonna make a work path. Once I have the work path right there, you can see I can use this for vector graphics in all the ways we saw. So stroke, you can use also a brush to stroke here. So that's gonna use the brush that is right now selected in here. Or you can use a fill path again. And I believe this is kind of, yeah, there you go, is right there. So actually I'm using the posterize effect with this mask. So perhaps I want to create a new layer with this and right click, fill with black. There you go. So now it's also black. So you can use the work path, as a mask. Again, if you are here and you're using an adjustment layer, it's going to use it as a mask, or you can create a new layer and use it as a new layer. So you can like rasterize and trace all the images using the selections essentially. Now I created another layer here, empty layer, and I have a path which is open, which I created with the freeform pen tool. Now there are some filters that uses paths. For example, if I go to filter and go to render, I have the flame, which is going to be applied on the shape that I am using right now. So if I say okay, you can see that I'm using these flames and this will be converted into flames. And so if I go here, the right selection tool, now I can like change and see that that's going to be the flame in there. And also you can use the text. So you can place a text inside a pot. So you click in the point where you want to insert it, and it's going to go there along a pot. So you can place it along a pot, or you can also use a shape. So if I use like an ellipse, let me just create an ellipse right here, and I again take the text, click on the ellipse. Well, it's gonna place the text around the ellipse. So basically around the pot that is defining the shape. So these are a lot of examples about vector graphics and also how you can work them with selection, mask, rasterize layers, and so on. And I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us, thank us, please join the channel as a supporter. This is going to be all. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video, guys. Check out other guides and courses that you find in the channel about vector graphics.